Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to show you how to make these gorgeous Takashi style flowers using Blender and Clip Studio Paint. So now we need to prepare this to import it into Clip Studio Paint. We can join everything together again and now put it back into edit mode, make sure everything's highlighted, and then in the UV window, if you go to UV and right at the bottom, it will say Export UV Layout, which we now need to put onto our object as a material. But don't forget to save the painted version as well. Otherwise, we'll lose everything we've just done. So save it, then export your UV. Now go to the Materials section. You can go to the shaders section at the top, or just remove the whole of that texture, make a new one, add a new image texture. Now you can open your UV map and apply that as the material. When you save your UV map, rename it so that there aren't any spaces in the name. So now we can export this as an FBX. Open up Clip Studio Modeler and select Create New 3D Object. Now go to the little tree on the right hand side and then the folder underneath it. You should be able to see all this on screen where my cursor is. And you can select your FBX from your file. Next to the tree is a material icon. If you go through the folder and then click on the material, the UV layout, and then there'll be a Clip Studio Paint icon in the bottom right. If you click on that, Clip Studio Paint will now open. And then what will happen is you'll get a little viewer will open with your 3D model in it, and Clip Studio Paint will open with your UV layout already set up. So now we want to import the PNG that we just saved, the one with all the colors on. And then you can copy it, right click and copy it, and then paste it into the window with the UV layout. And it will make its own layer. So I put the UV layout layer at the top. I reduce the opacity, and I usually lock it as well so I don't paint on it. So I use the blur brush to blend. Adjust the brush size and then just go over everything again just to make it neater. So now create a new layer and make it a vector layer. We're going to create the facial features of this Takashi style flower, and we need to use a vector. Also, we will add a symmetry ruler. If you click on the ruler icon on the left hand side and then select symmetrical ruler, and you can drag it down the center of your sphere. And so whatever you draw on one side will also appear on the other side. So draw a wide open mouth shape like this. You can highlight the line that's just been drawn, and you can change the shape to smooth it out as well. Just needs to be done on one side. I'm just making it narrower, slightly narrower now, using the Adjust Line Width tool. So I'm just using the pen tool to draw a happy eye. The lines are too thick. Then adjust the width. Now delete the other eye. We just use that as a guide. Now we can duplicate that layer, flip it by transforming it along the vertical axis, and then move that into position so it lines up. We can fill in the mouth area by using the select tool. I made a new layer. I drew a selection within the boundaries of the mouth and I filled it. So using the lasso tool, do the same with the eyes. Just draw within the boundaries and use the bucket fill tool. You can select a new color using the bucket tool and then fill it. The eyes can be the same color or different colors. We can change the color of our vector lines by going to the right hand side, selecting the layer with the vector on it that you want to change the color of. We go to layer color, it will change it. Do it on both sides, so both layers. Export your PNG from Clip Studio Paint, and now we can add that PNG to our object in Blender. Now we will add a rig to our flower so that we can animate it. So separate the flower object so that the petals are one object and the sphere in the center is another object. And now add an armature, a single bone. You can scale it so you can see it and then change its visibility by going into the object properties and in viewport display select in front so you will always see it. Scale it down a bit. Now we can rename it to something that isn't armature. You can call it anything. I'm going to call this flower rig. And this is for the last step, which is a bonus step where we can't have the name armature. It needs to be something else. Extrude the single bone. Extrude it in the Z direction. And now you can align the tail to the center of the sphere. We also need to rotate it by 90 degrees on the x-axis. We can add an armature as a modifier to the petals and the sphere. And then the object should be the flower rig. Now we need to weight paint. So if you select the flower rig and then the sphere object, and then in the menu on the top left, select weight paint. And then you can paint, it needs to be fully red, so it's all fully weight painted to the bottom bone, the first bone that's vertical. We can just blur that out so it goes everywhere and then check. Select the rig again and then select the petals. And then go to weight paint mode, select the horizontal bone. I use control and then select that bone. And then we can weight paint the petals as well. So they're fully red. So now we can create an animation. With the timeline at 0, if you press I and then select location rotation, it will create a keyframe at 0. You can move along to 100 frames and then rotate. You rotate the bone in the Y direction. the petals should move with it. For some reason, I couldn't, in my version of Blender, make it rotate by 360 degrees. And for that to be the animation, I had to do it in stages. You can change the keyframes to linear. So it doesn't start slowly and then speed up. And then export it as an FBX. And now as a bonus, we will import it into Unreal Engine. So once you've imported it, save everything, click on the skeletal mesh, and now we will import our texture that we painted in Clip Studio Paint and Blender. So I've actually imported the Clip Studio Paint file. You can import the PNG, and now we can connect everything up in the materials. So connect the base color to the RGB, and then we can apply that material to the static mesh. We can add a parameter, make it slightly metallic, rename the parameter metal, then adjust its default value to say 0.5 to start off with, or something like that. And then we also need to create a parameter for roughness so that it's shiny. You don't have to make it metallic or shiny, you can have it more rough. This is my little space pod that I made. So add it to your environment. So you can position it. And then on the right hand side where it says animation mode, you can select your animation and then you can simulate it so that you can see it moving. So there you have it. You can duplicate it and have loads. And there is your Takashi flower made. Got my little stag there. My animated stag. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again another time. Bye bye.